It all started on what seemed like a regular Tuesday, just another day in our 5-year marriage. On the surface, everything was fine. We weren't perfect, but who is? We had our ups and downs like any couple, but beneath it all, I always believed we had something solid. We laughed, we shared quiet moments, and we genuinely connected, or at least that's how I saw it. I trusted her implicitly, never imagining that anything could come between us. But that day, everything came crashing down in the most unexpected way. It wasn't some long brewing affair I uncovered after months of suspicion, no. It wasn't even something I had to dig for. I simply happened to be going through our joint bank account to pay bills when I noticed something strange. An unfamiliar charge. 2 tickets to a concert. What caught my eye wasn't the cost or the event itself, but the date. One of the tickets had been purchased just a day earlier, and we hadn't talked about going to any concert. I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right, so I decided to confront her. When I called her, her voice immediately struck me as odd, shaky and distracted. Something in her tone told me that this was no ordinary conversation. I asked her about the tickets, and after a long silence, she admitted it. She had been seeing someone else for the past 2 months. The words hit me like a freight train. I could hardly process them. She kept saying it wasn't serious, that it was just a fling, that it didn't mean anything. But none of that mattered. The betrayal was all I could focus on. I didn't even feel anger at first, just an overwhelming sense of shock. Heartbreak. I couldn't comprehend how this had happened. We were supposed to be a team, and now everything felt like it was falling apart. I asked her why. Why hadn't she told me? How long had it been going on? Her answers were weak and evasive. She said she never intended for it to be anything serious. It had just been a way to get attention, to feel validated. But that wasn't what hurt the most. What really cut me to the core was how she dismissed it. She acted as though it was just a small mistake, a fleeting lapse in judgment that meant nothing. It made me feel like I had been nothing more than an afterthought. I knew, in that moment, that there was a deep fracture in our marriage, a fracture that could never be repaired. Her indifference, the way she trivialized her actions, made it clear that we were no longer on the same page. That night, I packed my bags. I moved out. I didn't know what the future held, but I needed space. I needed time to process. And deep down, I knew I couldn't stay with someone who could betray me like this. It wasn't just the cheating that hurt. It was the lies, the betrayal, and the fact that she couldn't even take responsibility for what she had done. The divorce that followed wasn't easy. It was messy, and it was painful, but we managed to avoid a drawn-out legal battle. I asked for everything: our home, the savings, the assets. I wasn't interested in reconciliation. I wasn't interested in fixing things. I just wanted to move on and heal. The months that followed were a blur. I threw myself into work, focused on my personal growth, and spent time with friends and family who had supported me through the hardest moments of my life. Slowly, I started to feel like myself again. I even began dating again, something I never thought I'd do. For the first time in a long while, I felt free. I felt like I could breathe again. Then one day, out of nowhere, she showed up. I was sitting in a cafe, having lunch with a colleague, when I saw her walking toward me. At first, I didn't recognize her. She looked different, thinner, more drawn, her face tired and worn. It took a moment for me to process it, but as soon as she saw me, her eyes welled up with tears. I could feel my stomach drop. I wanted to ignore her. I wanted to get up and walk away, to leave her standing there and never look back. But something in the way she looked at me, the vulnerability in her eyes, made me pause. She approached my table and, without waiting for me to say anything, sat down. "Please, just hear me out," she said, her voice trembling. I didn't know what to do. I wanted to walk away, but part of me was still so torn. I didn't want to hear her excuses, but there she was, asking for a chance to explain. "I know I messed up," she continued, her voice breaking. "I know I destroyed everything. But I'm so sorry. I never realized what I had until I lost it." I stared at her in disbelief. This woman, the one who had promised me forever, was now sitting in front of me, begging for forgiveness. But it wasn't just the apology that stopped me. It was the way she spoke. She wasn't defending herself anymore. She wasn't trying to downplay what she had done. She was taking responsibility. For the first time, she understood the weight of her actions. I thought I could live without you, she said, her voice cracking. But I was wrong. I was so selfish. I didn't realize how much I hurt you. I didn't realize what I was throwing away. You meant everything to me. And I know I can't undo what's been done, but I'm begging you to give me another chance. Her words hit me harder than I expected. After everything she had done, after walking away from me so easily, now she wanted me back. I wasn't sure what to think. Was she truly sorry, or was this just guilt talking? I didn't know if I could trust her again. My heart ached as I thought about all the sleepless nights I spent wondering why I wasn't enough for her. How could I let go of all that hurt so easily? I don't know if I can trust you again, I said quietly, the words tasting bitter on my tongue. You broke me. And trust isn't something that can be fixed with an apology. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I understand. I don't expect you to forgive me right away. I just wanted you to know how sorry I am. And that I love you. I love you, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make it right. We sat there in silence, both of us grappling with the weight of everything that had happened. She was right about one thing. She had lost me, and she may never get me back. But a part of me, the part that once loved her so deeply, was still torn. Could I give her another chance? Could we rebuild from the wreckage? I don't know if we can go back to what we had, I said, my voice shaky. But I can't just erase the past. She looked at me, desperate for a sign of hope. I don't expect you to, she said softly. I just want a chance to prove that I can be the person you deserve. We left it at that. No promises made. No resolutions. But as I watched her walk away, I knew one thing for sure. Our story wasn't over, at least not yet. She had done the unthinkable, but she was still trying. Whether that would be enough or not, only time would tell. As for me, I moved forward with caution, knowing that while love might heal, trust could take a lifetime to rebuild.